Folks, I think it is clear that we have left the good times. We are entering the bad times. Hopefully, you know by now, if you listen to this channel, we say good times never last and bad times never last. Things I've also told you repeatedly that I've made most of my wealth in the bad times. So I want to talk to Jonathan Twombly about who's going to win, who's going to dominate in this environment, and who is just going to disappear. There's a lot of people that are going to disappear. So, Jonathan, who's going to win in the next couple of years? Because I think there's some clear winners coming.
I'm going to win in the next couple of years.
Of course you are.
You and I both. No, I mean, so I was laughing when you were doing that intro because you're saying bad times, and I'm thinking, wait, what bad times? Real estate.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, these are good times. I mean, like, I'm excited about this.
yeah,
No
yeah.
competition for deals,
Exactly, exactly. I love that.
oh my God. So I was like, yeah, bad times for me is when like everybody and their brother is a syndicator and I can't find a deal that makes sense to save my life. Those are bad times as far as I'm concerned, right? So, or good times to sell anyway, but bad times to be buying. So who's going to win? I mean, listen, I think that the people whose business model was entirely dependent on buying assets with really cheap debt at low cap rates and flipping them very quickly, those are going to be the people who lose. And the people who are going to win are people who know how to operate real estate profitably, right? And I think what's going to happen is that lenders they're already doing it. They're getting more cautious about who they lend to, what they lend on, and the people who are going to win are the experienced operators who can find good deals, right? And the better the deal and the stronger the operator, the more happy that the bank is going to be. The people who were kind of fly by night, or people who are brand new, who were not able to partner with more experienced people, I think are going to have a tough time because we're out of that period of time where lenders are willing to throw money at anybody with a pulse just because they're caught up in the frenzy too, right? And so that's who's going to win. The people who.
Yeah, I think if I was an LP or an investor, frankly, I mean, I don't know how else to say this, but to be blunt, I'm going to be looking at somebody who was out of the market last year, right? Because I believe in certainly multifamily investments. There are sometimes you buy and absolutely sometimes you sell. So frankly, I want to know somebody who was struggling, who got out, who was sitting in cash and was pissed off and frustrated. That's the person I want to look to. The person that I don't want to look at is the person that did multiple deals or multiple raises in 21 or 22 on a deal, used bridge, jet, IO, talked about bonus depreciation, all that marketing stuff to get deals done. Also, I don't want to work with somebody who's a social media guru and basically all they do is raise capital. I believe, and I've said for months now, the people that are going to win the next couple of years are good operators. And in the multifamily space, I believe a good operator sells at the peak and sits in cash and continues to educate, continues to do the work, of course, but just patiently waits. That's who's going to win, because you have the relationships, you have the capital, you haven't burned any LPs. How many LPs are going to be burned by these silly social media guru types and will never come back? It's just reality. So again, I think great operators are going to win. And again, black and white, who was out of the market is somebody I want to go to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you like a great example of this. I mean, my friend Brian Burke. I mean, Brian Burke built an enormous portfolio of real estate and basically sold all of it. Exited through the frenzy and kind of managed to sell a couple deals even after the frenzy kind of died down, and just identified a certain number of assets that were just like gonna do well no matter what, like really well located assets to hold on to. But the rest of it, he stopped buying some time ago and was just selling. And that's the kind of person that you want to be looking at. Someone like Brian, who's been through a couple of cycles, saw what was happening. He was the guy who, when he went to a meetup and everybody was a syndicator, was like, okay, time to start selling.
Problem, red flag, red flag, red flag.
As opposed to deciding that meant like dive into the frenzy even more, right? I mean, so someone like Brian and people who were like him, who really understood that the time to sell is when everybody is buying, because
Yeah.
what comes next is not going to be pretty, right? So
Yeah, it's really interesting. And again, I thought it was really eye-opening to see Powell talking about the lending environment potentially acting like rate increases, which is going to cause even more stress to the people who did multiple deals the last couple of years, because they're going to have to raise more capital. The rate's going to be more. They're going to have to call their LPs and do. It's going to be messy. I don't want to operate with somebody under that amount of stress. They're going to make bad decisions.
it really depends. I mean, as always, what if you bought at the top of the market, what kind of debt you put on
It's
the deal?
always debt. It's always
And
debt.
it's always debt that gets you in trouble. And I can recall, without naming names, people during the run up who, were constantly talking about, well, the key to success in multifamily real estate is financial engineering, right? And I would just cringe when I saw that, because, well, first of all, it says to me, okay, the deal is not good enough without financial engineering, or the deal is
Yeah.
too expensive, right? Or the deal is too
Yeah.
expensive, and you have to financially engineer your way to profitability for your investors, rather than just operating the property well. But it was very, very hard to at the cap rates that we were buying at. I mean, I'd say that people were buying at. It was very, very hard to make any money for your LPs. Really, the only way to make money for your LPs was to sell the property, right? And so you're basically making a bet that the property was going to continue to rise. And since everybody was making that same bet, they started putting on funkier and funkier kind of debt structures. And, that's great when you can sell before the market turns the other way. But if the market turns the other way, as it has, then now you're in a lot of trouble. And so people who are using a lot of IO, using floating rate bridge debt, putting a lot of pref equity into their deals in order to try to raise the returns for their LPs, those a lot of those deals just are not going to do so well. And if they're in a situation where they have to refinance in the next 24 months, I think you're going to see a lot of people who are in trouble. People who have a lot more runway will have more room to grow their rents, grow their NOI, and kind of they're not going to produce the returns that they expected for their investors, but at least they'll have stabilized assets that they can they refinance, and they can live to fight another day. But I think you're going to see a lot of people who are not going to live to fight another day, and that's it's unfortunate, but it's
Yeah.
kind of what happens in every cycle. This is what
Yeah.
always happens.
Yeah. What I see coming again, and it annoys me because I'm kind of in that world now. A lot of social media types in the real estate industry have used their platform like YouTube or Instagram or whatever to attract a lot of LP money. They're not good operators. They were focused on the marketing, the raise, and frankly, a lot of them don't have any real skin in the game.
Yeah.
So there's no real personal fight left in. They're like, oh, we got caught. The market changed. It's the Fed's problem. Sorry, LPs. I lost all your money. And they're not going to feel it. It's maybe some reputation hit, but they're not going to feel it in the pocketbook.
I mean, listen, I was talking with a syndicator friend of mine yesterday on my drive up here about the fact that he would, I can't remember what he said, I'm not naming names, but he was talking about, so I don't know who he was talking about, frankly, but he was talking about somebody whose offering that he had seen, where they were basically charging such high acquisition fees, right, that it didn't really matter to them how good the deal performed. And
Exactly.
I think what happens, and this is, yeah, I used to spend a lot of time talking about investor psychology, but this is kind of what happens in every cycle. Like the longer the cycle goes on and the more greed develops in the market, the more skilled marketers are able to charge in fees, and investors are willing to pay it because they're greedy, right? And they don't really see how the incentives are bad, and the investors, are the sponsors are able to just extract more fees from investors. And one of the reasons why I pulled back in the market was because I didn't want to make a living like that. Like I just didn't feel like when it got to the point where the only way to make money in the business was charge big fees up front and then sell as fast as you can to get your promote. Like that was just too much like gambling to me. And it also just didn't feel like being a good operator, right? I mean, I know that's what the market went there, where it was very, that's kind of what
Oh,
you
it
had to,
was there, and it was there longer than I thought it would be. Absolutely. Yeah.
but it wasn't the way that I wanted to make money. And, the way that I felt good about treating investors, right? So, um,
Yeah.
that,
I'll end on this. I think what's going to, what comes out of this, and we look back on this era in 18 or 24 months, I feel good about the following saying: the bigger the name, the lower the return.
mm,
It's kind of how I feel. At the end of the day, Jonathan, one of the things I know about you and people can go back and watch your playlist, which is long and strong. We both got out of the market. We both sold stuff in 2019 and before because we saw this coming. We didn't see a pandemic. I probably lost $500,000 by selling early. I still feel good about it. It was the right idea. And I'm prepared for what's coming. And yeah, it's going to be it is going to be the good time, but the general economy will be bad. But you and I will be having a lot of fun. So, Jonathan, where can people find you in closing
yeah.
thoughts?
So, sorry to step on you there. Yeah, no, please come and you can Google me at Two Bridges Asset Management if you want to join my investor list. We actually have a really great hotel deal coming up that we're about to go into contract for. But you can also come to Apartment Investors Club on Facebook and join the conversation there. And finally, you could just go to apartmentinvestorsclub.com and get my free download about how to syndicate deals.
Well, the other thing I think we should close on is I've been very clear with my audience. There's some stuff that I don't know. This bigger game is something I don't know. So Olivia and I are coming out to your event in April, late April in Las Vegas. We're spending our own money, right? We get the same discount everyone else does. So what is the website? People can go check it out. And they have a
Oh,
discount, ORAT 30, I think.
yeah. So please, thank you for mentioning this. So the website is the multifamilywealthproject.com. We are going to have a really great audience there. We've only got another, I believe, 2 weeks for people to buy tickets before we have to close the window. So make sure to go there. Like I said, there's a great discount just for members of this audience. I apologize profusely because I can't remember if the code right now is for a 35% discount or a 30%.
30. I remember.
Okay,
30.
so it's ORAT 30. When you go to the checkout page, you'll get 30% off. And like I said, ticket sales are ending soon completely. So if you think you want to go, please don't miss out on this. It's going to be a really fun event, and Michael's going to be there. And apparently, I think he's going to have some coffee or something with his fans.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about that off air so we can get something set up. Again, ORAT 30. Again, one of the things you need to do as an investor, and you're seeing me and Olivia do this, is you invest in learning early. So you got to get ready. You can't get ready when the opportunity's there. I've been very clear. I see this opportunity growing. I think we're in the first inning, and I might get really aggressive in the sixth inning, but I got to get prepared. So that's why we're spending a couple of grand going to Vegas, learning from the best of the best, because it's an area I'm weak on. So Jonathan, thank you for the opportunity. If you are an ORAT fan, let me know you're coming so that I can get a count and we can plan something together. So Jonathan, one more time, what's the website?
It is the multifamilywealthproject.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.